Jake, thank you so much for taking the time to do this interview with me. It's great to see you. I've loved having you as a customer for Vault, and I'm really excited to go through this. Maybe just for everybody who's watching, it'd be great if you could start with a quick intro on who you are, your background, the company you work for. That would be awesome.
For sure. Thanks, Leo, for setting everything up. And yeah, it's my pleasure. So I'm Jake. I'm the accounting and finance manager at Cruel. I have a background in accounting. I received my CPA at Ernst & Young, and I had a couple different jobs that made my way to Cruel. We're a small company, around 12 people, but we do have a couple hundred of promotional staff that are with us throughout the year. And yeah, we're growing, and we signed up for Vault almost around a year ago now, and we've loved it ever since.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's been amazing to watch the journey of Cruel. You guys have some pretty incredible customers. I know Sports Illustrated is a customer of Roots, so very cool to see and see your journey with the company. Maybe if we could
Sure.
just start things off, would love to know what types of problems or challenges did you come across with regards to payments and banking prior to Vault?
Yeah, I do have a boss who dealt with everything before I started at Cruel. And when I joined, it was tough to allow me to have access to the banking platform and to transfer money and to keep things organized with our accounting software. So everything was sort of in different places, and it was just hard to give me access to that. It was also hard to, like I mentioned, we had hundreds of promotional staff that were out and about and spending money. And it was hard to keep track of their expenses and keep track of their limits and to really know what they were spending. So that was a pretty big issue. And just the overall, I would say, organization of our finances and of our accounting, I was just having trouble making the most out of that and keeping everything super organized.
Yeah, totally. And glad to hear that Vault's given you the control and security you need to keep the finances in order. I know that when the founders built the product, that was definitely one of the missions that they were trying to accomplish. So that's great to hear. Maybe for you, I know most customers find out about Vault in different ways, whether that be Google search or an ad. How did you come across Vault?
I heard from word of mouth. Luckily, I do know you, and we have a lot of conversations. And you mentioned that it could be something that I would be interested in. And after a couple of different calls with you and some demos, I was for sure interested in trying it out. And yeah, I've loved it.
Amazing, amazing. And you mentioned that a couple of those calls and getting questions answered, watching tutorials was maybe a driver in helping you switch over to using Vault. Maybe since you've been using the platform, what specifically has helped you the most to improve your financial operations?
For sure. I think, like you mentioned, the customer service has been amazing. I think on the website it says we'll respond within under an hour, and that's been true. Everyone's been super helpful. I know you've been the account sales manager on our account, and you've been super helpful whenever I have an issue. Not that there are many, but just whenever I have a question, that's been amazing. Another thing is the fees have been really great in terms of limiting those and really not having to pay any fees. Before joining Vault, there was a $2 e-transfer fee, and it was hard for me to get access to my boss's EasyWeb account to actually make that e-transfer. So it was sort of having to get him to make that e-transfer, just another step in the process when it really should have been me. And then a lot of our vendors take payment via EFT, and that's something that's been huge. We don't have to pay a fee for EFTs, but in the past, it was around a 250 setup fee with $50 a month and a certain, I think, a 30 cent to $1 transaction fee every time a payment was made. That's been huge. Like, our business is to pay vendors, and we do a lot of it. That's been really amazing to save that type of money. And I guess just lastly, the organization, just having everything in one spot, accounting, all of your payments, just tracking has really been amazing for me.
That's incredible. And $250 setup fee, I know that's a lot. So happy we could help your team in saving that and providing an easy way to send EFTs and e-transfers. I know you mentioned a little bit earlier in the discussion about setting up promotions with certain customers and giving contractors or students access to cards to make it easier to track. How would you compare that process with Vault as opposed to maybe how you were doing it previously with them making purchases on their personal card?
Yeah, sure. Before Vault, we were getting our promotional staff to purchase everything on their credit cards, which led to tons of reimbursements. Or we were giving them these prepaid visas. So we were just buying visas and just giving it to them where we couldn't track what they were purchasing. So it was sort of just like, here's $300 cash and just go spend it. But now with the credit cards that we can give to these brand leads that we hire and trust and interview and train, it really allows us to track every single purchase, be able to send that to our accounting software to be able to make sure it gets into our books properly and properly categorized. And it also allows us to make limits for our promotional staff so we know how much they're spending and to make sure that they don't go over what we want.
Yeah, that's incredible. And really happy to hear that you're taking advantage of the tool in that way. I know that's a perfect use case for it. So that's awesome. Couple other questions here, like, you mentioned a little bit around fees and being able to save with Vault. How would you quantify, either with time or with money, the types of savings that Vault has provided for Cruel?
Yeah, I mean, I think with actual savings for the fees, our e-transfers would have been that $2 a month. We make hundreds of e-transfers a month. So that's a huge savings right there. And our EFTs, like that setup fee of $250, and then even just that like $50 a month, it adds up, right? So that's some big savings there. I think with time too, as I mentioned before, having everything in one spot, it really allows me to do my job more efficiently, and just being able to track everything in one spot. I'm definitely spending a couple hours a day versus 3, 4 where I normally would have. So the hours are a big saving as well.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I appreciate you sharing that. As the company continues to scale and acquire large customers like it has been, can you see yourself continuing to use the platform?
For sure. We'll continue to use it. And, it doesn't matter if we keep growing. Vault hasn't shown really any problems for growth in terms of transferring money and, accounting software and all that stuff. So yeah, we plan on sticking with it when we continue to grow and continue to acquire those larger customers as well.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And Cruel is a good example as an event marketing company, but curious if there's any other types of companies that you would think about recommending to using Vault.
Yeah, I really think like any company that pays vendors on a regular basis, it's so easy to just be able to track every single vendor and pay out your money in a way that it's an organized fashion. You have it connected to your accounting software, and you have access to either your Vault bank account or, another business bank account that you can link. So definitely just like anyone who is constantly paying out vendors, it can be in any sector, any category. If you have a lot of transactions, it's just great for fees and for organization.
Yeah, that's awesome. From my perspective, any customer making a lot of purchases or has a lot of transactions would be a great fit. Last question for you here. How would you rate Vault on a scale of 1 to 10?
I'll give it a 9.5 because 10 is perfect and no one's perfect. But I've really been happy, and a 9.5 I think is a pretty good rating.
Yeah, a 9.5 out of 10 is right there. We'll get you to the 10 eventually, but appreciate it. Jake, thanks so much for taking the time and going through this with me. Excited to keep, working with you and watching the business grow. So really appreciate your time.
No problem. It was fun.